Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble on this glorious June the 22nd. Here to talk some Green Bay Packers as we're inching closer to training camp. Hopefully, everybody had an awesome weekend as we get geared up for the work week. I know we're all really excited about that. I see the chat is already lit up in here. Appreciate everybody making us a part of your evening. If you would, hit that like button on the way in. Feel free to subscribe if you're new here. Don't be afraid of the chat if you are new. Just be cautious. No fear, just be cautious. It gets a little wild in there. I'm just going to leave it at that, all right? We're flying solo as of the moment. We may have somebody join us here shortly. I'm not 100% sure on that. You never know where Jacob's at, so we'll see if he hops in here. But we're ready to talk some Packers. And we're going to talk a little Matthew Golden. We're going to talk some Anthony Belton just a little bit. Talk a little D-line room, as well as some Devonte Wyatt. If we have time, we'll break down a little chalk talk for Devonte Wyatt as well. So let's waste no time, man, and jump right into it and talk a little Matthew Golden. We put a poll question up here, both on YouTube and on X, all right? And the poll question is, who will have more receiving yards for the Packers this season, Matthew Golden or Jayden Reed? We also put that poll question up on X, so we will get you guys an updated number on that as well. And the reason I asked this is because there's been some differing information that's dropped in terms of the betting community, the gambling community, and I know Jacob talked about it a little bit earlier in the week, and just seeing a thing pop up today that came across the old AI bot here. So we're just kind of combing through and looking at, hey, what are some of the talking points this time of year? And rookie standout, first-round wide receiver Matthew Golden, the Packers. The first Packers receiver drafted in the first round since 2002, has dazzled at minicamp. You guys know Jordan Love was talking about how polished he looked. That's the exact word he used. I know Matt LaFleur was talking him up, but not as much as others. Romeo Dobbs had good things to say about him. It seems like everybody is noticing, wow, this kid, he's probably as prepared to play wide receiver day one as a Packers receiver has been in a long time. And it makes sense seeing that they haven't drafted a first rounder in such a long period of time. But said he dazzled at minicamp. Obviously, he ran that 4.3 40 that we all talked about. But the big thing was talking about how crisp his routes were. And many people talking about that. You know, we showed on tape strong hands. That was a big strength of his game. He attacks the football with his hands. He also has a unique ability to be able to time up the throws, even when Quinn Ewers is underthrowing him, right, at Texas. So we showed that. Love the story of how he kind of, you know, he started off a smaller school. He transfers over to Texas. Isaiah Bond comes over from Alabama. He's supposed to be the main go-to guy. And lo and behold, Matthew Golden emerges by the end of the year as the top go-to receiver there at Texas. So he's someone who is an ascending player coming into the league. But here's what I wanted to talk about. According to Grok and AI here, DraftKings projects him at 725.5 receiving yards. Now, those numbers may have changed. That's the numbers that they pulled here. If you guys want to check it on your favorite degenerate gambling site, go right ahead. But that was slightly above Jayden Reed's 700.5. All right. So just wanted to point out that, and there was also an ESPN report. I think it was on June 22nd. So I think it was today, as a matter of fact. It might have been yesterday. Golden's red zone chemistry with Jordan Love, talking about how that could be something that could really become a thing if they develop that red zone chemistry. His rise, questions Christian Watson's long-term role as Watson's 2024 injuries, where he just played 10 games in 2024, and his 2025 contract expiration loom. X-Chatter suggests Watson may be trade bait if Golden sustains his form. Now, listen, here's the thing. I don't want to see Watson traded, right? I don't want to see – I would much rather see Watson return. But the reason I want to point this out is why is it the gambling community – at least some of them have him projected to have more receiving yards than Jayden Reed, who Jayden Reed obviously led the Packers, I think, the last 2 years, right? So I want to get your all's take on it in the chat as well. You guys let us know in the comments if you're watching this later. Am I the only one that was taken back by that? Because when I see that, I go, hold up a minute. Jayden Reed has been the go-to guy in this offense, right? Passer rating when targeted through the roof, yak ability, all those things. He seems to be Jordan's safety net, right? His blanket underneath when the shot play isn't there. And the fact that Matthew Golden is projected to have more now, is it because he's going to play on the outside? Is that what it is? If that's the case, then I would push back a little bit and go, hold up a minute now. It seems like Matt LaFleur's offense runs through the slot. It runs through the F receiver, right? But I'm just curious to see what you all think on that. And I really can't wait to see the poll results here, because I would have voted for Jaden Reed, right? That would have been my pick. I would have said Jaden Reed going to have more yards than Matthew Golden. But again, man, there's a reason that Vegas can afford those free drinks with pretty low umbrellas in them, right? They're usually on something when the numbers are skewed in one direction or another. H.E. Solder in the chat said, the Golden Reed poll begs the question, has football changed so much that the old rule of thumb that it takes 2 years to fully develop a receiver is now dead? Solder, we've been hearing now for about, it seems like it goes back 5 to 10 years, that these 7-on-7 camps and everything, that these receivers are more equipped coming out of high school and especially in college to play receiver right off the bat. Whether they're stepping right into college ball, they can jump right into a starting role, or coming from college to the pros, they're more equipped than they ever have been. Now, I would push back a little bit from a sense of, seems like Green Bay's a little more conservative in that regard, and maybe you guys disagree, but I hate to be that guy, but then again, look at what Jaden Reed did, right? I think he had tied or broke Sterling Sharp's rookie reception record. So that proved, hey, Matt LaFleur ain't afraid to dump him right into the offense and start to funnel him the ball, kind of like how you do Amon-Ra St. Brown in Detroit. Like, that's the high volume dude, obviously. So, I think we're to the point, Solder, where that's dead, right? Like, it's, hey, if they're a guy, if they're a dude, get them out there and start getting them the ball right off the bat. I believe that is the case, man. I really do. Chris the Casual in says, I don't see why they won't slow play Golden into his snaps like they've done for almost every rookie in years. Reed should have a couple hundred more receiving yards this season. See, that's how I went into this conversation thinking too, Chris. But like I just said, you think back, I mean, Reed really got the ball forced to him his rookie year. So I think it's going to come down to how defenses play, and maybe that's why the numbers in the Vegas community is leaning towards Matthew Golden, because we've seen defenses really key in on Jaden Reed down the stretch and try to take him out of the offense. And that's why his targets went down tremendously, that along with the injury issues that he was facing. He ended up having a shoulder. He had an ankle that was bothering him there toward the end of the year. So, maybe that's the case too, that they're kind of projecting, hey, look, teams are going to continue to try to stop Jaden Reed. And I know we're not talking about tight end, but as we're having this conversation and thinking, okay, if defenses really do clamp down on Jaden Reed on those over routes, those climb routes, those digs and the dagger looks, all those things, right? When they do cheat motion him from the F or the slot outside and then bring him back on the deep dig with the dagger, if they're going to continue to hammer down on Jaden Reed, and we're sitting here saying Matthew Golden's projected to have more yardage in the gambling community, well, Tucker Kraft, I don't know what the over is on that. I wish Jacob was in here. We'd ask him. He's our gambling degenerate in here, obviously. But kind of feels like Tucker Kraft might be an over to hammer, because everybody's talking about Matthew Golden and Jaden Reed. Watch Tucker Kraft come out and just have an absolutely huge year. Drew D in the chat says, Golden looks that good. I'll tell you, man, Drew, hearing the reports out of camp, and I try not to buy into this stuff too much, but when you hear players bragging on specific players like they were Matthew Golden, I'm with you, man. It does seem like he's as advertised, at least up to this point. Now, here's the big thing. He's got to stay healthy, right? There's two big things in terms of a rookie contributing and putting up decent numbers. You've got to stay healthy, and you've got to be able to absorb that playbook, right? You got to understand the choice routes. Like, if they're going to mix and match him and Jaden Reed from the Z to the F, if you're going to play F, you got to know every choice route on the damn field, because at any point, any particular time, you might get a hand signal, you might get a tap of the cap, and they may shift over. Jordan might make a check at the line. Now they're going to shift him to the other side of the field, him being the F, whether it's Jaden Reed or Matthew Golden. In this case, Matthew Golden. He's got to know the choice aspect, because there's choice routes all over this Matt LaFleur offense. So much so that we can't even – all we can do is show you the end result of the play when it comes to chalk talk and the receiver play, right? There's no way of being able to understand exactly what choice routes were supposed to be ran or what wasn't. That's why it's important to listen to the press conferences and hear Matt LaFleur, Coach LaFleur, talk about these things and going, yeah, well, he ran the wrong route. Well, he's supposed to take that at 8 yards instead of 13, or he's supposed to take it to 15 instead of 7. All those things. It's that that much of a detailitis within Matt LaFleur's offense, and that's why sometimes rookies are slow to the punch coming out in terms of contributing right off the bat. So let's go to the poll question and see who ended up winning that. And I have a feeling I think I would know who was going to win it here. Looks like on YouTube, 70% Jaden Reed, 30% Matthew Golden. All right, so they're saying Jaden Reed over Matthew Golden 70-30. And then when we go to the Twitter poll, it's a little bit closer on Twitter. Jaden Reed 59.5% and Matthew Golden 40.5 is the way that shook out. So unanimously, everybody's saying Jaden Reed will have more yards than Matthew Golden. The fact that Matthew Golden's projected with more yards coming out of the gate might want to hammer that over on Jaden Reed. And I think we all feel comfortable saying he is healthy going into this year for sure. So there you go, little Matthew Golden talk again. Just wanted to touch on that real quick because I thought that was interesting that those numbers came down the pocket. And you guys, I got good feedback on the video we posted earlier today. I'm going to try to do that regularly, maybe once or twice a week, just give you guys a rapid fire. Here's the news from the Green Bay Packers this week, a little 10-minute video where you can just, whether it's in podcast form, download it, get the info you need right off the bat. Here's the must-know information for the Green Bay Packers on the week, and no opinions, no here's what I think it is, here's what I think it isn't, just here's what happened, bang, 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 bang. So we're going to continue to put those videos out for you guys and gals in that regard. So let's move it along now, and let's talk a little Anthony Belton here. All right, Anthony Belton, very interesting that we keep hearing he was at camp, he wasn't at camp, he's just not participating, but he was in the building. Keep getting mixed information on that, but just want to read this real quick. I done a quick search over the intrawebs and trying to figure out, okay, what's going on with Anthony Belton, right? And obviously training camp hasn't kicked off yet. This is what I said. There's no direct evidence in the provided information stating that Green Bay Packers rookie Anthony Belton is missing camps. However, there are relevant details about his status that might explain the context of your question. Now, I know we already talked about this. It has to do with the rookie wage scale, the guaranteed money that these second rounders are trying to get. But let's see if this shakes out the same way here. Belton, a second round pick number 54 overall in the 2025 NFL draft, remains unsigned as of, and this was June 19th, 2025. Obviously, we're here on the 22nd now, and he's still unsigned, which is a notable point since the Packers training camp is set to begin on July 23rd, 2025. The lack of a signed contract could potentially lead to a holdout, as suggested by an agent's comment that deals for unsigned second-round picks, including Belton, might culminate just before camp starts due to pressure to finalize the contracts. Despite being unsigned, Belton was a full participant in off-season practices. I repeat, it says he was a full participant in off-season practices. Now, we know going into mandatory minicamp, I know that they signed that waiver saying, hey, they're protected if something were to happen at rookie minicamp. We know he was there, and if I remember correctly, he was playing with the number 2s on the offense. It says, here we go. This is where it kind of gets into the details a little bit, all right? He was a full participant in off-season practices, indicating he's been involved in a team activities up to this point. The delay in signing is linked to a broader trend among second-round picks influenced by New Orleans Saints quarterback Tyler Shuck, the 40th overall pick, reportedly demanding a fully guaranteed 4-year deal, which could set a new benchmark for guarantees and contracts for players like Belton. This contractual standoff is affecting most second-rounders, with only the first 2 picks of the round signed as of June 19, 2025. Now, keep in mind, we talked about Jaden Higgins kind of setting that bar because he got a fully guaranteed contract being a second-round pick. So kudos to whichever team that was. I can't remember if it was Houston or Arizona. I think it was Houston that got him, if I remember correctly. So that's really what's triggering all this. Additionally, Belton's role with the Packers is still being defined. He's expected to develop versatility primarily at right tackle and guard after playing mostly left tackle at North Carolina State. During minicamp, he worked at both left and right tackle with the backup, suggesting he's being groomed for a flexible role. There's no mention of him missing any mandatory activities like minicamp, which concluded on June 12th. 2025. It says, if your question stems from a specific report or rumor about Belton not attending camp, it's possible that new developments have emerged since the last update on June 22nd. blah, 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 and we're all good there. So I want to get your all take. Do you guys got any more information on Anthony Belton in the chat? Has anybody heard anything? Because, what it kind of feels like here is what it kind of feels like to me with Anthony Belton is they're going to drag this out all the way up to camp, but I don't think they're going to allow him to miss training camp, And what they're hoping is probably some other second rounders land more guaranteed money. And I don't even know how many aren't fully signed so far. But if that was the case, maybe they take it right to training camp. And let's say they're looking for a 100% fully guaranteed contract, right, with a rookie deal, they be in Anthony Belton's camp. If they go in with that approach and then it comes up on the eve of camp and a couple other players, let's say 3 more second-round picks got fully guaranteed contracts, and they go, okay, we were sitting at 50%, right? Well, let's see if we can meet halfway at 75%. Maybe they get that deal done right before camp. That could be a negotiating tactic there as well. So just want to see how that all shakes out with Anthony Belton. And Solder says right tackle. AI thinks Tom might be moving. No, what it's saying is they were playing him with the backups, with the twos, right? In rookie mini camp, and I want to say there was another camp that they had where most of the players were there. He was running with the twos at left tackle and right tackle. What that says to me, and here's the thing too, on Wildy and Tausch and hearing Brian Balaga and those guys, they were talking as if he was going to be playing guard, right? Which is really strange because just like Jordan Morgan, he played left tackle his entire collegiate career. To the best of my knowledge, he played every snap in college at left tackle at NC State. I'm almost positive. But then immediately they start hearing rumors that, hey, he may kick over to right guard, right? Well, when you hear that, you go, what's that mean? All of a sudden, now you hear that Jordan Morgan is competing at left tackle with Rasheed Walker. So if Rasheed Walker beats out Jordan Morgan for left tackle, then obviously Jordan Morgan's going to go right back to right guard. He's going to start at right guard. I would imagine that would be the case. What it feels like to me is this isn't Anthony Belton taking right tackle from Tom and then kicking Tom around or whatever. No. I think they're looking to cross-train him so he can be what we call a swing tackle. Because you get a second-round pick. If he's going to be on the bench, if everybody stays healthy, and I think we would all agree, we hope they do. If that's the case and he stays on the bench, then the best value you could get out of that second-round pick is obviously him being a swing tackle. And I know there's some people that probably think, oh, that ain't no big deal. Hey, when you have a tackle go down and you've got somebody waiting in the wings, whether it's right tackle or left tackle, that can step in there and be serviceable. They don't have to be all pro. They don't have to be Pro Bowl caliber. They don't even have to be, upper echelon starting 32 caliber at their, respective position. But what you're looking for is someone who's it's not going to completely blow up your game plan. And I know Emilio isn't here to defend himself, but last year, let me give you an example. When Elton Jenkins goes out of the game and they plug the all-world, all Mexicano, I should say, in honor of Emilio, Travis Glover in at left guard, that offensive line completely fell apart. You guys will remember that. So that's why it's important, I think, to have a swing tackle. What you want in a perfect world, in my opinion, is you want a player who can play both tackle positions as a backup. This is perfect, best case scenario, right? In a perfect world. You want your backup left tackle to be able to play right tackle too, where he can play swing tackle. So if one of your starters go down, you got a swing tackle to jump right into that spot. You know who's up. There's no, okay, if the left tackle goes down, you plug and play this guy. If the right tackle goes down, you plug and play that guy. Then you flip to the interior. You want another guy who can play either guard position as a backup. All right. And to me, that feels like Sean Ryan. If Rasheed Walker beats Jordan Morgan out for left tackle and Jordan Morgan is the starting right guard, then to me, it feels like the go-to play there, the go-to game plan would be Sean Ryan would be your swing guard. So you got Anthony Belton as a swing tackle, Sean Ryan as a swing guard, Jacob Monk is your backup center. Now, the other thing that we haven't talked about is obviously Elton Jenkins and his contract. I do not think that Elton Jenkins is going to hold out week 1. I don't. And I'm hoping they meet in the middle somewhere and get that whole contract thing worked out, right? But if for some reason, worst case scenario, Elton Jenkins, if he were to, hey, I'm going to hold out until I get what I want, and Goody is just really, really, really just kind of locked in that, no, we're not going to give you any more guaranteed money. You're under contract for 2 years. If that were the case, I would like to see Zach Tom kick to center And then it's time to put your big boy pants on, Jordan Morgan and or Anthony Belton, right? That's how I see that. You got a first-round pick and a second-round pick. If they can't start at right tackle in Tom's place, then those are whiffs at those draft picks. That's just my personal opinion. So it's not a perfect scenario, but that seems like that would be the more serviceable backup plan to Elton Jenkins missing time in week 1. And again, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying he's going to miss time. I'm simply saying worst case scenario. That's how I would like to see that. Now, with that being said, they've had Jacob Monk taking the snaps at center throughout camp at mandatory minicamp. You haven't seen, I don't think we've seen Zach Tom take one snap at center in minicamp. So could be Sean Ryan. I think Sean Ryan took a few. So Sean Ryan could be that backup center, and they're just giving Jacob Monk every opportunity to try to win that spot. So we'll see how that all shakes out there. So again, Anthony Belton, we're going to keep our eye on that. As we come up on training camp here next month, we're less than a month away from quarterbacks. I think it was quarterbacks, rookies, and injured players reporting on the 18th. And then, of course, the rest of the players report on the 22nd. We're exactly 1 month away from that date. And then, of course, I think the first practice is going to be on the 23rd. Matter of fact, let me pull that up real quick just to double check. Let's see here. Yeah, so it's going to be, July 23rd is going to be the first open practice. So they may get out there and do something on the 22nd, to be honest with you. So how wild is that, guys? We're 1 month away from training camp kicking off. And then once training camp kicks off, the following week, we're going to have family night. And then it's the first preseason game. It's going to get here so quick, man. It's absolutely awesome. So, again, let's keep our eye and ear to the street on the Anthony Belton situation. All right, now I want to talk a little defensive line room, if that's all right with you guys and gals. I thought this would be kind of cool, as we're going to break down also some Devonte Wyatt talk here in a minute. We put an article up over in our Patreon group. If you guys want to join the Patreon group, you know how to do it. Just go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. $3 get you access to everything on the site. If you want to be generous and give more, there's a $5 and a $10 tier, but just focus on the $3. That's more than enough to help us out, and it also gets you extra content. We're going to break down that Devonte Wyatt breakdown here in just a second, but I just want to look at the defensive line room real quick. I want to get your all's opinions on this. Again, if you're watching this live, fire off in the chat. If not, let us know in the comments when you do get a chance to watch this. So let's start with quarterback pressure percentage, okay? Brenton Cox Jr. led the way at 13.7%. He ended up with 4 sacks on what appears to be only 95 pass rush attempts, all right? So when you look at Brenton Cox Jr. and how he played, it's somewhat limited snaps, and that is worth mentioning. But the fact that he had so much production as a pass rusher, that's my number 3 rusher, guys. Now, listen, Baron Sorrell may come in, smack him in the mouth, and take that from him, right? That could be the case. But as it sits right now, what I would like to see in the rotation is Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness on the edge. Now, there's rumors that Van Ness is going to kick inside. If that's the case, maybe the plan is to get Brenton Cox Jr. out there on the edge, What I don't want to see happen, I don't want to see Kingsley and Igbare take meaningful snaps away from Brenton Cox Jr., Rashawn Gary, or Lucas Van Ness. Now, you can see with the play time here, Gary 58%, Brenton Cox Jr. 35%, Lucas Van Ness 39%. Keep in mind that the reason that Lucas Van Ness's snaps were so low is because Preston Smith was on the team for a significant amount of the season before they traded him away to Pittsburgh. So that once he left, you get to see LVN in the lineup more often. He played way, way better. Oh, Lord, AFAM's mom's in the chat. He played way, way better in the second half of the season, kind of even with the cast on that thumb, right? And I know some people say pass rusher, who cares about the thumb? No, you've got to be able to use your hands to rush the quarterback. You've got to. So, again, Brenton Cox Jr., 13.7%. Rashawn Gary, 13.4%. Lucas Van Ness, 11.2%. That is a higher pressure rate than TJ Watt had this year. I'm going to continuously mention that, right? In terms of sacks, you have Brenton Cox Jr. with 4. Rashawn Gary led the way at 7.5. Then you had Lucas Van Ness with 3. Devonte Wyatt, obviously, on the interior with 5. We'll talk about him here in a minute. Kingsley Igbare finished with 4.5 sacks, but he had a significant amount of pass rush attempts as opposed to Brenton Cox Jr. Kingsley Igbare, 277 pass rush attempts, right? And Brenton Cox Jr. only 95. So if you were to have given Brenton Cox Jr. double the snaps at the rate at which he was going, at a 13% quarterback pressure rate, he would have led the team with 8 sacks. I think the big thing we're coming away with when we do these type of exercises, these deep dives with these specific positions, is Brenton Cox Jr. needs to be in the lineup. Am I wrong there, guys? Does Brenton Cox Jr. not need to see more time? Like, it just to me, it makes so much sense. Daryl in the chat says Brenton Cox has untapped potential on pass rush waiting to be unleashed. He was the backbone of the defense when others were down and out. And it did seem like every game there was a flash player or two where he'd come in off the bench and he'd get in the quarterback's face. Now, the problem with him is much like Devonte Wyatt's was last year, run gap integrity. It just seems like Brenton Cox Jr. would just kind of just pin his ears back, run up the field, run right past the rush lane, and give up a running play in his lane, or maybe not set the edge the way he should against outside zone runs, things like that. Last year, he played a lot better. He really did. And when you look at his stops, he had 9 stops last year. And it looks like 12 tackles, right, on 59 run D snaps. So with those nine stops, the majority of those would probably be on run defensive snaps. That's a pretty good percentage there, man. I mean, what would that be, guys? Let me look here real quick. Let me break out the old calculator. 9 divided by what we say 59. Let's say that all those stops came on run snaps, and they may not. There might have been a screen pass or 2 in there, but 9 divided by, 59 run D snaps? Yeah, it'd be a 15% run stop rate that he would have. I feel pretty damn comfortable saying that would be the best on the team. You know, Gary had a really, really good year in the run defense with 39 run stops there last year. So, again, Brenton Cox Jr. is a name to kind of keep an eye on. Kingsley Enagbare, to me, he's on his way out. I don't see any scenario where they're going to look to re-sign him in anything other than a minimum contract with no guarantee. Aaron Mosby's another one. So, now we're talking about bringing in 2 rookies in Barron Sorrell and Colin Oliver. Now, I know we're all excited about Barron Sorrell. When you look at the tape of Colin Oliver, man, I got equally, if not more, excited about him. And that's not to take anything away from Barron Sorrell. But Colin Oliver looked really, really interesting. If you're going to throw that hybrid role in there, if you're going to throw like a Leo or a Viper type in at outside linebacker and let him rush and then continue to drop into coverage as well, show a lot of those fire zone looks, which we know last year Hafley really, really loved those fire zone looks. And most of the time he ended up bringing 4, so he would simulate pressure, sugar, what we refer to as sugaring on the line of scrimmage. So, yeah, I think that what you're probably going to see here, if I were running the show today, I would want to see the majority of the reps unless something crazy in camp happens and Barron Sorrell just comes in with his hair on fire along with Colin Oliver. I would want to see the share go Rashawn Gary, 60% of the snaps, Lucas Van Ness, 60% of the snaps, and then Brenton Cox Jr. at that normal 35 with the intent that when these guys are going to get banged up. You know how it is in the NFL season. People are going to get hurt. It's going to happen. I'm not wishing it, not trying to be doom and gloom, but it happens every NFL season. So if Rashawn Gary or Lucas Van Ness has to miss a game or 2, I want Brenton Cox Jr. stepping right into that starting role and taking that 60% of the snaps, 55 to 65% of the snaps there. Now, after that, what I would love to see happen is Barron Sorrell take the next wave of those snaps over Kingsley Enagbare. Because what you're going to have in Kingsley Enagbare right now is what we call a progress stopper. And usually when we're talking about progress stoppers, we're mentioning those guys from a starting standpoint, right? We're talking about them, starting and taking like last year, Preston Smith. Preston Smith stunted LVN's growth by being on the roster. Now, ain't no 2 ways about it. LVN's pressure, his quarterback pressure percentage was somewhere around 8 or 9. And then when Preston Smith leaves and he gets more snaps, all of a sudden you see that pressure rate start to rise. At one point, there was like a 3 or 4 game span where he was over 15% pressure rate, LVN was. And now he's settled in at 11.2 at the end of the year. I got a lot of high hopes for LVN as well. So, for me, I don't want Enagbare being that progress stopper. And this is nothing personal toward Enagbare. It's just really, really simple, man. Look, we need to get these young guys reps early. So I would want the pecking order to go Rashawn Gary, LVN, your starters, Brenton Cox Jr., that number 3 guy, kind of like we talking about swing tackle just a second ago, a swing guard. He would be your swing edge. Brenton Cox Jr. getting the next wave of reps. And then Barron Sorrell, Colin Oliver, and Kingsley Enagbare. Now, I want to hit time out there and say this. If we come into camp, and Kingsley Enagbare just turns camp on its ear, right? And he's just a dominant force, and he's proven, no, he's the better pass rusher. he took a huge step forward, right? If that's the case, then I'm okay with Enigbari being on the field. I just have no reason to believe he's going to take that huge jump right now. I don't know how you guys feel about that. That's just kind of how I see that. So, yeah. Let's see here. H.E. Soder says, so why has Green Bay struggled to get someone to generate a monster number sack season? Last big hit was Z. Smith, 13.5 sacks in 2019. Who was your defensive coordinator, Soder? You remember? It was Mike Pettin, right? So when Mike Pettin was the defensive coordinator, they brung a lot more of an aggressive approach. Now, some people would say, well, that, does that mean they're blitzed a lot? It could. I mean, obviously, that's the definition of being aggressive on defense as well. But you can be aggressive with just the front four. And there's a lot of fans, there's many people that don't understand that. It's a really, really simple concept. If you're willing to filter out the noise of everybody who just all of a sudden pretended like this defensive line in 2024, man, they all of a sudden suck. And then you turn on the tape, and you're going to see it a little bit with the Devonte Wyatt tape if we get to it tonight. I don't know if we will. But you'll see a couple of plays where he kind of lags back a little bit, and then he sees a shot, and he just takes a shot and goes, right, where he's kind of protecting a rush lane. That's how Jeff Hafley called it. With Mike Pettin, it's pin your ears back and go. With Joe Barry, it was pin your ears back and go, not quite to the level that Mike Pettin did it with. But, again, what's the byproduct of that? What's the negative aspect of running a defense like that? Go back and watch the Giants game and watch Tommy DeVito time and time again just take off and run up the field because the outside edge rushers were just pinning their ears back and getting upfield, right? And then you see Matt LaFleur get involved with the Joe Barry defense. He adjusted that, and they stopped doing that down the stretch of the season, and you didn't have quarterbacks running all over them again. So, again, when you look at that 13.5 sacks in 2019, it's how they're being coached to rush the quarterback. That's not – you can – let me put it this way, Soder. Now, 2019 is a bad example because they had a pretty damn good defense, right? But would you rather have a defense like under Joe Barry, right? Would you rather have a defense that can't stop the run to save their life, but they're getting higher sack totals than we did last year? Or would you rather have the second best run defense in the league while still finishing ninth in sacks, right? Last year, people have convinced themselves that the Packers were horrible at rushing the passer last year. And it simply was not the case. They were not in sacks. And they were top 3, top 5 in EPA per drop back in pass defense. You see right here a negative 0.02. So they were, if you actually break down the numbers and put everybody in order, they just got the playoff teams there at the top. This, again, was in the 2024 season, all right? They were tied with the Eagles in EPA per drop back on defense, right? Those are the metrics you should be looking at and not truly sack totals, right? Because the goal is to stunt the offense with your defense, right? I would much rather have someone that finished, like I said here, in terms of EPA per drop back at this point in the season. And I'm thinking this was this was obviously into the playoffs. So this was through the divisional round. So it's pretty much the entire season. You essentially you were tied for the third best pass defense in the league in terms of EPA per drop back. Now, when we go to yards per pass play, they were top 10 as well, right? Then you finished ninth in sacks. You finished second in run defense. That's what you need to be focused on, not so much the sack total. So, again, sacks are fun. People love, mainly because it is an easy stat to find. You can go to ESPN.com, find the sacks, right? You got to do some digging to look for EPA per drop back, to look for some of these advanced metrics that, by the way, EPA teams use that metric, right? The 33rd team uses on their website, and they use the SIS data solutions to compile all that information. That's how they truly gauge whether their players are playing good or not. Mostly the tape, but the EPA metric is another thing that they use pretty significantly. So, and again, I know there's people that don't like mentioning the tape, and I've noticed that the people that don't like when you mention the tape, they're too damn lazy to go watch the tape. That's very, very convenient. They like to look at spreadsheets, and PFF is the one, and I'm always going to mention this because people will pull stats from PFF and they have no way to back it up with the tape. None. It's just some random person that works at PFF that compiled these numbers by watching the tape, but you don't know who they are. You don't know their name. You don't know their football background. You don't know the specific plays that they're charting. There's two ways you can do that. You could chart it yourself, right? You can watch every single play and chart it yourself, or you can go to NFL Pro and you can actually look at these plays. You can pull them up and look at these plays in real time as you dive into it. So again, when it comes to the defensive line room and specifically the edge position, that's the order in which I want to see it, man. Is Rashawn Gary, LVN, then Brenton Cox Jr., and then try to give the rookies a chance to take that swing role there, the backup swing role, I should say. And then from that point forward, if Kingsley Enagbare is better than the rookies, then all right, it's going to be a red shirt year for them. Let Enagbare eat if he takes that step forward. I'm just not anticipating it happening personally. So there's a little defensive line breakdown for you guys and gals. Now, we're going to continue with the defensive line talk here a little bit. We're going to get into a little Devonte Wyatt talk, all right? Now, what I did was pulled some information off online here. And keep in mind, guys, this is over in the Patreon group, okay? So if you've got access to our Patreon community, this write-up's already there for you. You've had it all day long. I put it together, well, about 3 hours ago, I think it was, or 2 hours ago now. And we've actually got the breakdown, the Chalk Talk tapes already uploaded for you guys. 1:17 of Devonte Wyatt, some of his best plays for the 2024 season, all right? So going through the internet and just having it compile information for us, a lot of this stuff's probably going to come from PFF and other websites. And then I've attached some NFL Pro stuff, which you guys know I'm a big fan of NFL Pro. We've also got some PFF stuff here as well. So just ask for a breakdown of Devonte Wyatt's performance and potential with the Green Bay Packers, all right? And we did it in bullet point form. I didn't want it to be something that's long-winded and kind of drags out. Didn't want it to be all wordy and try to sound, every time AI is going to screw that up anyway. So let's get some bullet point forms here. So here we go. Fifth-year option secured. The Green Bay Packers picked up the fifth-year option for Devonte Wyatt, a 2022 first-round pick, ensuring his contract extends through the 2026 season. Now, again, guys, some people look at that and go, man, why didn't they give him a contract extension? The fifth-year option is an inflated number. It's like a mini franchise tag for that player, right? So when you tag them with the fifth-year option, unless it's a position where the value is driven down significantly like we did with Darnell Savage, it was almost like we don't have an answer at safety, although I think we would agree Darnell Savage was not the answer. Let's tag him with that fifth-year option because it's much cheaper. It was like $7 million. When you slap a defensive line franchise or a fifth-year option on a player, you want them in your future contract talks. And they're in contract negotiations with Devonte Wyatt, from what I understand. The three names we're hearing is Zach Tom, Devonte Wyatt, and Quay Walker. Right now, I don't know how extensive those contracts. I imagine Goody and Russ Ball would like to do them one at a time. Zach Tom will be top priority for me. And then after that, I will go Devonte Wyatt, and then I will go Quay Walker. Now, there's a chance that they say, hey, look, we're going to wait and see how you play this year, Devonte Wyatt. Now you get a quarter of the way through the season and Devonte Wyatt's on fire, get that contract done in season type thing. Now, I don't know. It seems like it's somewhat rare for them to get a contract done mid-season, but again, that's why the fifth-year option was secured. Pass rushing prowess, all right? Wyatt ranks in the 97th percentile for hurries per pass rush opportunity among qualified interior defenders. So when you look at the PFF grades and you see he graded out in the 60s or whatever it was, you think, man, he didn't have that good of a year, did he? But then when you break it down for interior defensive linemen, that's where you really understand, wow, he is a very, very, very effective pass rusher, right? So pass rushing prowess, 97th percentile in hurries per pass rush opportunity. Now, he is in the 67th percentile for quarterback hits per opportunity and the 91st percentile for sacks per opportunity, all right? Against true pass sets, Wyatt ranks in the 91st percentile in hurries on opponent there, and 75th for sack. All right, and those are in true pass sets, and that is a PFF metric if I remember correctly. All right, since 2023, he's recorded 61 hurries and 12 sacks per PFF data, counting half sacks as full sacks. Okay, despite not being a full-time starter. So again, we got to get him on the field more often as well. We actually had that breakdown, and I already dropped it down. I wanted to see his playtime percentage because it was significantly less. However, he was banged up last year, but he still played in 14 games, if I remember correctly. Yeah, right here it is. 2024 season stats. Played in 14 games, producing 32 pressures, the third most on the Packers defense, despite only 247 pass rush and snaps. Now, with the 32 pressures, that's a different number than NFL Pro had. And that's the reason I wanted to put these up, because I'm almost positive that the internet pulled this from PFF's database, and I want to show you kind of the difference. We'll get to his NFL Pro numbers here in just a second. An ankle injury in 2024 limited his overall impact, stunning a potentially breakout season. Areas for improvement. Wyatt struggles as a run defender. We've talked about that time and time again here on the show, which has limited his role to primarily pass rushing situations. Needs to improve consistency in finishing sacks as he often gets into the backfield but fails to complete the play. We've seen that more in 2023 than 2024. I felt like he got better at that, and he got better at run defense last year as well. Becoming a three-down player effective against both pass and the run is critical for his development in 2025. Team context, the Packers did not re-sign starting nose tackle TJ Slaton, and their only defensive line addition was sixth-round pick Warren Brinson, indicating Wyatt and Kenny Clark will be the primary starters in 2025. Now, keep in mind, when they mentioned TJ Slaton at the nose, he would play the nose in 4-3 sets, right, for the most part. And then when they would go to their nickel, he would come out for the most part. TJ Slaton would. Devonte Wyatt would go in. Kenny would kick over to the nose, and Devonte Wyatt would play the 3-4 okay? Wyatt's 2026 base salary is projected at $13.9 million, ranking 27th among interior defensive linemen, which some view as a steep given his limited starts. 5 career starts is all he's got on the books. Again, they come out in a 12 or 21 personnel, and he wasn't the starting defensive tackle. That would be considered not a start, right? So again, that $13.9 million, that's the 27th highest paid interior defensive lineman in the game. So that's a fairly steep number when you're talking about a player who's not the number one defensive tackle on your team. Like with Kenny Clark's cap number, that's why you look at Devonte Wyatt's number and think, man, that's significantly cheaper than Kenny's. Of course it is. Kenny's got a huge contract, right? So we'll see how the new contract will shake out. Expectations for 2025, staying healthy is crucial after an injury-plagued 2024. Coaches, including Matt LaFleur, are optimistic about Wyatt's potential, citing his offseason preparation and moments of brilliance. The Packers aim to improve their pass rush consistency, with Wyatt expected to play a larger role as a starter, obviously talking about here in 2025. Potential impact. Wyatt has shown elite pass rushing potential, making him a candidate to become a top interior disruptor. If he improves his run defense and stays healthy, he could emerge as a significant difference maker for the Packers defense in 2025. So let's take a look at the PFF grades. What I did was pull all of the interior defensive linemen on the Packers roster currently, and here are their PFF grades from last year. Okay, so keep in mind, he is the 26th or 27th highest paid interior defensive lineman across the league. He graded out, according to PFF, as the 37th best. Okay, so that would once again prove the point that that's a pretty steep number that they've got him signed on that fifth-year option at, based off of PFF's grades. His defensive grade was a 66.4. The run defense grade was a 52.0. Pass rush grade was a 71.4. All right, and we're not going to worry about the coverage grade, obviously. So here's the thing, though. Much like the Packers' offensive line run blocking grades, isn't it amazing that PFF grades the Packers' offensive line, their run blocking grade, poorly every year, but their running backs just continue to run the ball so well? And everybody said, well, that's Aaron Jones. That's Aaron Jones. Well, now we've done it with Josh Jacobs. Both are great backs. Don't get me wrong. I think that PFF, and this is why I would love for them to give me a breakdown. Hey, here, these are the plays we graded. This is how we seen it. This is why we gave a negative grade, but this is just off in the abyss somewhere where we can't see exactly why they're grading these players out the way they're grading them out. That's why I have a problem with PFF. And again, I still use it as a tool. I'm going to continue to use it as a tool, but it is an issue for me anyway. So just like with the run blocking aspect, getting poor run blocking grades, yet we're a top 5 rushing team in the NFL. Look at our run defense. We were second in the league in yards per carry allowed. But you look at our run defense grades on the defensive line, and everybody graded poorly. Somebody explain that to me. In my opinion, it's because they truly don't understand what the play call is, what the technique that's being used is. I'm not talking about what gap they're lining up in. I'm talking about the touch spies that were all over the tape last year. If somebody watching the tape for PFF doesn't understand, yeah, I would normally give them a negative grade there, but it seems like they're doing exactly what they're being told to do from a defensive standpoint, or else they wouldn't have that kind of success on run defense. Now, again, the linebacker play, that's going to play a role, right? Adrian Cooper played great. Quay Walker didn't against the run, right? Now, when you look at the DBs, I felt like Javon Bullard played the run pretty well, so there's a positive, right? Evan Williams probably played it pretty well, coming down as that Spurs safety most of the time with Xavier McKinney playing post. But just something to kind of keep an eye on there. I think his run defense grade should be higher than it is based off the tape we've seen. And again, we'll try to get into the tape here in a second. I think I'll have time to break that down. Carl Brooks was your second highest graded defensive lineman at a 61.8. Again, his pass rush, 61.1. Run defense, 39.7. Something that's not known about Carl Brooks, plays a lot of one tech. Okay, so you'll see when Kenny would come out of the game, they would put Carl Brooks in the one tech in his place in that nickel set, right? That was the guy that was kind of spelling. I'm to the point with Carl Brooks, much like Kingsley Enagbare, and you guys know I was high on Carl Brooks his first year in the league. Now I'm to the point where I'm like, I don't know if he's going to be a dude or not, because it felt like he took a step back last year. But again, it's showing his strength at a 61.1 pass rush, 39.7 run defense. How are all these guys graded so bad on run defense, but we had the second best run defense in the league? That's the thing that gets me. I just don't understand it. It doesn't. The math ain't mathing, as they say, right? Kenny Clark, a 60.0 run defense, 58.4, right? Run defense grade. Now, again, he played hurt. We found that out after the season, playing with a bum foot all year long. We've seen a whole bunch of touch spy from him, occupying a double team in that one tech, and then just kind of lagging back, playing the rush lane. That's what we did notice with him. So just keep that in mind. Kobe Wooden's another guy. He's going to have to prove it, man. I know he had limited snaps last year. I think he was banged up. So he's going to have to prove his worth there as well. So when you look at the way that Devonte Wyatt has improved or has not improved throughout his career, 2022 was his best year to 69.9 according to PFF, right? In 2023, he falls to a 59.6. And then last year in 2024, he jumps back up to a 66.4. So right now, from PFF standpoint, and again, I don't fully agree with it, Devonte Wyatt's ceiling is a 69, his floor is a 59, and he settled in last year in between, but much closer to the 69 grade, okay? Now, when you go to the NFL Pro numbers, this is what I wanted to highlight here. Notice the pressures that were mentioned up here, okay? What was it? 32 pressures is what the interwebs pulled for us, right? And that was a PFF number, if I remember correctly. 32. And then when you look at the pressures here for Devonte Wyatt from NFL Pro, it's actually only showing 23. Okay? So, again, when people dog Gary because the pressures on PFF aren't showing as high as his quarterback pressures here at 52, according to NFL Pro, I've got the tape to back it up with NFL Pro, right? I'm siding with NFL Pro. So just like with Devonte Wyatt, listen, we can't cherry pick this stuff and make something seem better than it actually is when we want to prove a point or we want a player to be better than they actually are. He's showing 23 quarterback pressures as opposed to the 32 that PFF had. So keep that in mind. That's why it's important to cross-check. And again, the stamp of approval, in my opinion, will always be the tape. It'll always be the tape. So when I've got a metric that's backed up with tape, I can click on that 23 and watch every single quarterback pressure he had. I'm siding with that over some phantom PFF, right? Some phantom PFF grade that's going to, like I said, someone in the background grade that we don't even know about. So that's kind of how I see that there. So moving along here, we talked pressures. That's really the main thing I wanted to identify with that. Obviously, they have 5 sacks for him. That's pretty much the breakdown we had on Devonte Wyatt. I want to know from you guys in the chat, is he worthy of a contract? Is he worthy of, I'm not saying top 5 defensive tackle money. I think that would be crazy. Is he worthy of top 10 defensive tackle money? Is he worthy of top 15? Because, again, when you look at some of these numbers with the 97th percentile in hurries per pass rush opportunity, we don't have any tape to back it up to match those numbers exactly. But I just want to know what you guys think about that. Let us know in the comments section. So I know there's some people that are probably sitting here going, man, Clayton, I'm still not sold on Devonte Wyatt, and I get it. Why don't we go to – I want to go to the tape, but we're at the 49-minute mark. Guys, forgive me. We're going to hold off on the tape till tomorrow, okay? We're going to hit that tomorrow. It's hard to do a show solo for, more than an hour, and I really don't want to mail that in. I want to get the guys' take on it too. So we'll get into the Devonte Wyatt tape tomorrow, and I'll make sure that I have a note here so we do not forget it, all right? Because I want to show you guys how he played. And here's a little, like I said, Greg Rice, do it. Sorry, man. Sorry. Again, I don't want it to be something where we got a lot of dead air and we're trying to drag this thing out. We got to do a giveaway here in a second. So we'll do it tomorrow, man. I apologize, Greg. We'll do the breakdown tomorrow. But here's the cool thing. Greg, you're in the Patreon group, right? Go to that Patreon post, and every clip we're going to break down, I've already got him circled, highlighted. You'll be able to watch those snaps. You watch it, get a jump on it, and then when we break it down tomorrow, you can let us know what you think, man. That'd be a lot of fun to do it that way, okay? Let's go to the chat real quick before we get ready to do the giveaway and wrap this thing up. Chris Casual says, Wyatt, not worthy in my opinion. I understand, because, again, you're willing to overpay for great. You're not willing to overpay for good. Now, when you look at the numbers that were pulled from multiple articles where they're saying he's in the 97 percentile, that would suggest great, right? But when we go to look at the tape, you only got enough tape to back it up to suggest that's not great. It's good, but it's not great. Now, when you're looking at it from a team standpoint, he did lead all interior defensive linemen on our team with a 9% pressure rate. So that checks the box, right? So now are you willing to sacrifice your best interior pass rusher because we don't want to pay him, I don't want to say top dollar, but very good money because we deem him unworthy. So, Chris, the way I look at that is you got to build a basement, right? You got to build that foundation. If we say he's not worthy, right, and I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate because I somewhat agree with you with your take there. If we're playing devil's advocate and we say, okay, we're just going to walk away from Devonte Wyatt and let him go into free agency, he's not worthy of that contract. You're starting from square one, right? You're starting from the very beginning again. Because Kenny Clark's number, you got to do something with that cap hit next year. It's astronomical, right? He may not even be on the roster. So now you're starting all over at defensive tackle. As where if you were to pay him being Devonte Wyatt very good money, that's your floor. And he's your 3-tech. Right now, there's some snaps that we'll break down where he actually played 1-tech. People don't believe that, but it's true. There's times that he would kick into 1. Now, his run defense, I feel like it got better last year. When you guys see this tape, you're probably going to go, yeah, PFS full of crap. That dude played the run pretty damn good. Again, somebody had to play the run good, What I would like to see is, now, if you could tell me there's going to be a dominant force at the defensive tackle position, somebody who could play a 1 to a 3-tech in free agency next year, sign me up, right? I would totally go that route, right? But with us not knowing if we're going to get into a bidding war with someone else, and 3-techs aren't just falling off trees. Like if a team's got a good 3-tech, they're not letting them hit free agency. It's very rare that someone like Christian Wilkins hits free agency, right? Because teams want to lock those guys up. I mean, we disagreed with Kenny Clark's last contract. We didn't feel like he was, worth that much money, in my opinion. I say we like everybody agrees with me. You guys may not, but why did we do that though? There's not a whole lot of defensive tackles on the market. You'll get some that are over the age of 30, but Kenny's, cracked over the age of 30 now too. So Chris says, need to give some of Kenny's money to Wyatt. Exactly. And that's what I'm getting at, Chris, is like, if you move on from Kenny, you've got the money to re-sign Wyatt. And guess what you do? You go to the draft like we talked about this year, and you go try to find that next great 3-tech of the future. Right. And then you can work Devonte Wyatt in and out of the nose. And I think they're expecting Warren Brinson to eat a few of those snaps as well with TJ Slayton now gone. So that's something else to kind of keep in mind there as well. So it's going to be interesting though to see if they just, give him top dollar. And I don't know what the average annual value would be. If I can remember tomorrow, I'll put up a poll question for everybody and see what you guys think would be the top dollar that Devonte Wyatt should get in a new contract. So if you guys will, we get a bunch of people in here. Hit that like button for us. Subscribe to the channel. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. If you're watching on Twitter, if you click on my Twitter account there, just click on the profile, that ugly picture I got of myself there, and the beautiful lady that's my wife there. She's the best part of that picture, obviously. If you click on that, it'll take you to my Twitter page. You'll see the YouTube link attached there. Just click on the YouTube link, hop over to the YouTube channel, subscribe there. It's a lot more enjoyable to be in here hanging out in the YouTube chat as opposed to X, but you're free to watch however you want to watch. We appreciate y'all making us part of your evening. Let's do a giveaway real quick, gang, as we get ready to wrap this sucker up. We're giving away an autographed Lucas Musgrave rookie card, okay? And here's how it works. We've got the Larry McCarron pinky wheel. All right, everybody who's a member of our Patreon group, $3 tier or more, you're going to be entered into this contest one time, okay? So everybody who's a member of our $3 tier, they are listed over here to the right. And what we're going to do is shuffle this sucker to make sure it is not rigged, all right? So I need somebody in the chat. Give me a number between 1 and 10, as Greg Rice already beat me to it, says it's rigged. John Johnson says it's rigged. This is the safest, most secure giveaway in PTA history right here. All right, 1 to 10. We got Jake G126 says 6. Holmes says 4. Let's add them together, all right? Let's say 10. So we're going to shuffle this thing 10 times here, all right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's spin this sucker. The winner of the autographed Lucas Van Ness rookie card is... Need Tim here for the drum roll. Todd Larson. Todd Larson is the winner. All right, now you guys know how we do this. If Todd Larson is in the clink and doesn't come forward, we're going to spin it again. This will be the second place. So if Todd Larson does not come forward and get the card, then it's going to go to Mr. Chris in. I think that's Chris the Casual in there, I believe. All right. And then if Chris, we may just not give it to Chris just because he gets in here and makes fun of AFAM's mom all the time. If those two don't come forward, obviously Chris will. Then the third place winner would be Justin Connor, looks like. Justin Connor. All right, so there you go. Again, Todd Larson, if you're in the chat, hit us up over on Patreon. It's another cool thing about our Patreon group. We got direct messaging to us as well as all the chats in there. You guys are awesome. Appreciate y'all. Yeah, there's Chris. He's in here. So, Chris, if we don't hear from Todd Larson, let's give him about a week, bub. Give him a fair chance to claim his prize. If we don't hear from him, it will be your card. So, again, Todd Larson, come forward and get your prize, buddy. We appreciate you supporting us over in the Patreon group. And, again, guys, if you want to get entered into the next giveaway, which will be next Saturday or Sunday, we typically do them on Saturday or Sunday, make sure that you are just a member of the $3 tier. Again, it's just a way for us to give back to those who are giving to us and supporting the show. So tomorrow we'll do the Devonte Wyatt tape breakdown. You guys are going to love that. You can also go to my X account and see that video. I posted it earlier as well if you want to kind of get a jump on what we're going to hit tomorrow with Devonte Wyatt. Another thing I want to do is at some point I want to do the Hobbs coverage snaps and kind of show you guys. Let's just do a film breakdown real quick of some of his top plays in coverage from last year. And kind of get a feel for how he plays the game. I also want to key in on some of his pass breakups, and I think he had an interception as well. Where was he playing? Was he playing outside? Was he playing predominantly in the slot? I want to break down all that stuff. So we will we'll approach it that way. Chris, you're too kind, man. You are too kind, buddy. He says, Clayton, if I win, roll it back into the next giveaway for someone else, man. Well, we got Justin Connor in here too, brother. So you just let me know if you want it or not, man. It's yours. And again, man, I know you're always in the chat. You're always hanging out and appreciating us. So Holmes says, Rumble tomorrow, Clay. Holmes, man, we've been doing good here lately, bub. The chat hasn't been going down while we're doing film study. So we should be able to keep it on YouTube, but we're live on Rumble and X every show. So if for some reason it does go down, you guys know as soon as it goes down, hop over to Rumble, okay? And it's crazy because it'll go down on YouTube, then it'll come right back up. And it's just AI triggering, hey, you're not allowed to use that. And then they realize, oh, yeah, they are allowed to use it. And they'll pull it back up. So, yeah, there you go. But, yeah, we'll definitely be doing that breakdown tomorrow. I'll get Hobbs keyed up as well. I'm sure we'll get some other Packers topics to talk about again tonight. You guys in the chat were awesome tonight. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Again, hit that like button on the way out. And Todd Larson, reach out to us, man. You got a Musgrave card getting ready to get mailed to you. So I appreciate you supporting the show. Everybody have a wonderful evening. We will see you tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. Enjoy this little outro of Romeo Dobbs squealing the tires. Pocono was a hell of a race. I don't know if y'all like NASCAR or not. Y'all learned a lot about this redneck here, but Pocono today, there was a lot of people screeching them tires. They were getting loose coming out of turn one, that's for sure. And it sounded a lot like this. We'll see.
Here we go.
Bye, guys.